about the musical Fiddler on the Roof. Has anybody heard of the Fiddler on the Roof, the musical, or seen it, or even seen the movie? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And those of you who have not, I can maybe do just a short synopsis, but certainly it's about, a Jewish family in early 1900s in Russia. And things weren't going all that great for Jews back then even. They're in fear of maybe having to be leaving where they lived, their homes, to find safety in another country. And so Tevye, one of the main characters, the father who has the daughters, and there's a matchmaker and everything. And so in the Jewish culture, you got to have that just right spouse that's going to be able to provide for your daughter, right? You don't want to just have some guy that, this day and age flips hamburgers for a living, right? You want somebody who's going to be able to care for your daughter. When you think about Jenna just got married, you want the best for her. Well, this story, Tevye sings a song right in the beginning, has this kind of a fantasy, he's a dairy guy that, works really hard every day, and he just wants the best for his daughters. So he fantasizes with this song that he sings, if I were a rich man, however that goes. And he just goes on and on about being a rich man. He could be like the Rothschilds, who were a very rich Jewish banker who had all kinds of money, everything you would ever want. He had staircases in his house that went up, and staircases went down to nowhere, went forever. He had everything he could have wanted. This song also comes and makes you think about a couple of other musicals. We think of The Cowardly Lion in the Wizard of Oz, where if I were a king, the Cowardly Lion. If I were a king, then I could just tell people what to do, right? And then all these comparisons and these fantasies of being rich. And if we're honest with ourselves, I think that we all have some time or another fantasized about being rich. I know I have. I've had those thoughts of, man, if I was rich, man, the things I could do, the things I wouldn't have to do, man, it'd be great. I could go on trips. I could go wherever I wanted. I could travel. I could eat in the best restaurants. I wouldn't have to worry about money. I'd have a financial portfolio that would protect me from just about anything that could possibly happen to me. Then I could even provide for my kids and grandkids for their education. I could relax, eat, drink, be merry. Jesus tells the crowd a parable about a rich farmer who stores up grain in larger barns over many years and then says to himself, relax, eat, drink, and be merry. In this story, the rich man is only concerned about himself and saving for his future security. His conversation is with the three most important people in his life. What do you think those people are? Who are they? Me, myself, and I. Of course, nothing, he says, has any regard whatsoever for anyone else. In the previous chapter and verses of this chapter, Jesus had been condemning the Jewish leaders and rulers as being greedy and self-serving. They had become pompous in their status and had become wealthy on the backs of the less fortunate. They are adamant in their attempts to discredit Jesus and to trap him in something he may say. Jesus is speaking to a large crowd that is gathered by the thousands to hear him speak. Most are living on the margins, very dependent on community for survival. Jesus' reputation of bringing healing and hope for a better life draws them to Jesus. Someone in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." This person wants Jesus to validate his desire to be rich according to the Jewish inheritance laws. But he said to him, friend, and that's always not a good thing if Jesus calls you friend. A lot of times it means he's going to give you the truth, right? So Jesus says, friend, who set me to be a judge or arbitrator over you? Jesus warns the crowd. So he turns away from the guy who asked this question. And he talks to the crowd. Take care. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. For one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions. Now, I think that would come as good news for these people that don't really have any, but I'm sure they have those same fantasies of having plenty and not having to worry about the day-to-day sustenance and if they're going to have enough to eat. I think we all have that desire to be secure, to live the good life. We are bombarded, though, by ads that entice us to consume things that we don't even necessarily need. Our economy is built on consumerism. Many buy lottery tickets in hopes of winning it big, right? Often we hear stories of those who have hit the big payday, and what happens? Oftentimes their lives turn to bitter, upset, and they find themselves losing friends and relatives over squabbles about the money. The same is true of inheritance sometimes amongst some family members when a loved one dies. It's amazing how many storage facilities are being built now for people to store all their stuff. With technology, many have turned to surveillance cameras and alarms to protect themselves and their possessions. There's even a phone app that alerts you if somebody's at your house. There's a camera up there, an alarm comes up, and your phone will alert you. You get your phone out, you can see the person on your front doorstep, and you can even talk to them. And you can scare them and say, hey, get off of my property. Hey, the cops are coming, get out of there. And then they take off running. Well, I have a financial advisor who meets me every year to discuss my portfolio and ensure that my savings are on track to sustain me into the future as I retire. And at my age, most of my friends and acquaintances talk about looking forward to when they will retire. Oh, I could just count the day, the month, the years, how long it's going to take. They have it down. They can't wait to relax, eat, drink, be merry. My dad worked hard labor his entire life. In the last year in his retirement, he was working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. His body was wearing out. He said to me a few different times after he did retire, and after a few years he's aging, and he's like, you know what, Jim? The golden years aren't so golden. You know? And now at 89, they're definitely not golden. He resides in a nursing home, and he can't hardly stand up, and he needs help to stand and walk with a walker. And it'd probably take him, 5 to 10 minutes to get from here to the back of the church. So there are so many things that motivate fear in us. Is it wrong to prepare for our economic future? Doesn't God want us to have an abundant life? I see some nuance here. There's a subtle difference, I think, in this question. Our abundant life and our future is found not in me. That's idolatry. That's seeking and controlling my own well-being. But to be rich toward God relieves you of anxiety and about having enough. It's more about trusting God, who provides all of your needs and turns me upside down to include we. And that in turn frees you and me to care about the we in the world. God, who is rich in mercy and love, gives you a new birth into a living hope through the sacrament of baptism. And in that sacrament of baptism, we find the promises of God. By water and the word, God delivers you from sin and death